It's 11:30. We're going to start. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. As I've been saying kind of as we've gone along, we are going to be doing this every week for as long as we can or as long as we need to. Today, we've got 12 nonprofits that are going to be here to answer questions and also talk a little bit about what they're going through, what the industry that they're in is going through, and kind of what they need. What we as folks who are at home can actually do for them. So that's going to be really important. We thought about this on Sunday. So we do, Envision Consulting does only nonprofit consulting, right? We do strategy work and we do recruiting for nonprofits. And all of our nonprofits right now are, we all are, but all of our nonprofits are suffering right now. And we thought, what a great way to help them to do this. So that is the purpose of the day. You will see just a little bit of housekeeping so everybody knows what's going on. So at 11:40, we have our first nonprofit. It is Food Forward. Before they go on, before every nonprofit goes on, I'm going to give you just a quick synopsis of what they do, what their mission is. And then the person who's representing Food Forward will come on, talk a little bit about what's happening in the food world for that matter, and then what they specifically need and what we as participants on this call, what we as residents in LA can do to give back. Obviously, every single nonprofit could use a cash donation, but that is not what we're asking them to talk about. We're asking them to kind of ask you and give you ideas of other things that you can do besides writing them a check or going on their website, making a donation. Though obviously that's something that they need. Not all of us can do that, but some of us can do other things. And you will, unfortunately, while I'm talking, hear my text go off because I have to have the mute. I can't have the mute on while I'm talking. So that's kind of the way that this is going to work today. We invite you to put your hand up if you have a question, to go into chat if you have anything that you want to ask. And our PowerPoint, which you can see on this screen, will tell you which organization is speaking. What we did was we asked the folks who are speaking from the nonprofits, if they wanted to, they'd be able to be next to me. So you'll see my face and then you'll see their face. And I just want you to know, and I thank you all for being part of this, that because of today, I was able to take a shower and brush my teeth, which I haven't done in the last few days, and also put on cologne. Just so everybody knows, I'm wearing cologne and I'm really happy about that. And trying to be getting back to as much normal as I can and also be able to be in the office today. So if nothing else, for selfish reasons, I'm really happy we're doing this because it, got me out of the house and got me out of bed. So that is the goal. Really trying hard, as I said, to sort of get us all motivated to do something and feel good about doing something, because this is a very scary time. So we wanted to sort of be able to do something. Okay, so to start, just because, there's going to be a lot that we're going to hear from our nonprofits that, the situation of what's happening now, it's not all going to be great news. So we wanted to start with just a poll. I think Suzanne on the right has a poll, and if it's not there, we'll ask you. So my question is, those of you who are on the call right now, how many of you are wearing pajamas? Or actually in like dress attire like I am? I don't know, because I don't know how this works, Suzanne, in terms of a poll. I think it's somewhere on the side, but if it's not, I'm really curious if any of you have actually gotten dressed for the call or still wearing your pajamas. I think that's a fun question to ask. All right, athletic leisure, I like that. Dress on top, PJ on the bottom, I like that. I like that a lot. I will tell you what's really nice. I'm actually going to start us a little bit early, so I'll give Food Forward a little bit extra time. But I will tell you what's really nice about all of this. First of all, not as much pollution from the cars, but also I have a dog and I've been walking every day. So seeing everybody in my neighborhood, I've actually met people in my neighborhood that I never would have met before. I feel like that's making us, at least in our neighborhoods, get to know each other and be able to wave to people. So that's actually been nice for me. Okay, so it's 11:35. I'm going to start this a little bit early, and then we'll introduce Food Forward. So I think she's on the phone. Suzanne, could you just let me know if if Laura's on the phone? Laura, you're on the phone. Okay. I see ya. So we're gonna unlock your video and your mic, so you'll be able to talk and people will be able to see you. And here's what Food Forward, just in case people don't know what Food Forward does. They basically rescue produce, collect it, and give it to folks in need. So for example, I have an orange tree and an apple tree in my backyard. I do not eat most of the produce. And so they would come to my backyard. They would send volunteers to my backyard. They'd pick them, collect them, and then hand them out to folks who need them. It's a really cool organization, doing some really good work. And, you know, something that I think is worth everybody knowing. So what Laura's going to do is Laura's going to talk just a little bit about the food situation, what's happening with folks who need to be able to get some, but then also a little bit about what Food Forward could use from all of us. So with that, Laura, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Hi, how are you? So if you wouldn't mind just sharing, I'm going to give you like 5 minutes, if that's okay. And just maybe really quickly share a little bit more, because I didn't do a good job about what you guys do. And then what we can do, sitting from our couches, sitting from our bar stools, sitting from wherever we are, maybe in bed, what we can do to help Food Forward serve its mission, aside from just writing a check. I'm going to put you on mute so you guys don't hear anything over here. So it's on you.
Great. Thank you so much, Matt. And thank you to Envision for having us.
There we go. Sorry.
Good now?
Good now.
Great. Thanks, Matt. And thanks to Envision for having us. So Matt, you gave a really good overview of what we do. Just a little bit more detail. We are a Southern California produce recovery organization. We recover fruits and vegetables that would normally go to waste from backyard fruit trees, public spaces, farmers markets. We collect at 25 different farmers markets across Los Angeles and Ventura County. And we also get produce from the wholesale produce market in downtown Los Angeles, which is a whole lot of produce that is not sold because it might be cosmetically imperfect. There might be a fresher load coming in. Various reasons it would go to waste instead of going out to stores. So two of our programs rely on community involvement and volunteer power. That's our backyard harvesting and farmers market recovery programs. Our third program, the wholesale market recovery, is completely staff powered. We generally engage about 4,000 unique people every year in our work and host about 200 events each month across Los Angeles and Ventura. We're currently recovering about 500,000 pounds of produce each week and serving 1,800 hunger relief agencies in Southern California. So just kind of some stats about what we're doing and our impact on addressing food waste and food insecurity in our region. So, as everyone, we are responding to the changing situation. It seems like things are changing by the hour. Particularly last week when it seemed like you couldn't go 15 minutes with a new update. So we have been kind of taking things in phases as the climate is changing. Apologies for the sirens outside if you can hear those. Our staff did start working remotely 2 weeks ago, with the exception of our wholesale recovery staff, who is still recovering massive loads of fruits and vegetables from the wholesale market in downtown Los Angeles, and working out of our produce pit stop, which is our warehouse in Bell, California. We have had to temporarily suspend our community volunteer events, which means we're not doing any backyard fruit picks or farmers market recovery events for the time being. But we are now working on hopefully, pivoting so we can do solo fruit picks, and maybe working with farmers market managers to collect produce from farmers markets or farms in the meantime. So right now we're trying to see how we can explore continued community involvement in a very kind of like limited way. We've also been working to divert the agencies that we serve through our backyard harvest and farmers market programs to the produce pit stops so they don't experience lapses in service. It's really important that we continue to provide them with fruits and vegetables because we are an emergency food relief organization. We've been trying to think really creatively with our partners to make sure that they can continue to support their communities. We've seen some of our partner agencies have to suspend some of their operations, and instead of maybe providing like tutoring services or whatever it may be, they are now stepping up by providing groceries to families in their community. So we've been trying to get them fruits and vegetables that they can supplement in their grocery bags. We've been just trying to do whatever we can to make sure that food distribution continues and that we're still recovering as much as possible and getting it out to the communities that rely on it. Many things are in flux right now, but as an emergency food relief organization, we've been trying to step up to continue offering healthy foods to the community. And I think that need is only going to continue to grow, especially as we face this financial upheaval with so much of the economy kind of being on hiatus or being shut down due to the COVID-19. So a couple of things that we are working on and ways that you can support. We actually had to cancel our annual fundraiser, the Spring Melt, on April 4th, which was sad, but we did because we wanted our community to be safe. So what we have done instead is change to a virtual melt at home with a silent auction and some interactive elements, which will be happening on April 4th. People can buy tickets to this virtual melt at home, and you'll have early access to our auction and be sent a melt at home kit with games and recipes and food forward swag. So that's one fun way to get involved with our work. It's at foodforward.org/springmelt. Another thing that we're working on, and I hope we'll be rolling out soon, is kind of offering virtual trainings for people who are interested in picking fruit in their neighborhoods, either for their neighbors and friends and family or for hunger relief agencies. We want to make sure that all of the fruit that you're seeing on trees across the region is not going to waste, and that people feel empowered and mobilized to get that food to people who need it. So you can sign up for our newsletter. It's foodforward.org/freshjuice, and we'll keep you updated as we roll out those virtual opportunities. It's been really cool to see how creative people are getting with connecting communities, and I think this is a great example of it, of bringing people together virtually so we can maintain these ties. The other thing we're working on is creating a kind of a master list of resources for people to get involved. A lot of our agencies need additional support. So we've been trying to collect information about volunteering and updating a list so we can share those resources with everyone so they know what they can do in their own community. That's something I'm happy to share. It's living on our website right now.
Cool. So one of the things that I didn't say at the beginning, which I'm letting everybody know now, is that after this call, we're taking notes of all of your needs, of all the nonprofit needs, and we will send that out to everybody who signed up. So in case some of you don't want to take notes or whatever it is, you're going to get that from us. But because I started a little bit early and we have 2 minutes, does anybody in the chat function want to ask a question to Laura? Give it a minute. And the other thing, just so everybody knows, so this is something called CauseCupid, right? This is something that Envision does. CauseCupid pretty much connects nonprofits with board members. That's what we do for CauseCupid. But we decided that during this time, we wanted to connect nonprofits with people to volunteer. So that's kind of what CauseCupid does, just in case you want to know. And I'm pretty proud of the name because I think it makes sense. We're Cupid for a cause. So I was pretty happy about that. Okay, so there is a question for you. If you wouldn't mind in the chat, Laura, if you would put in the link to your virtual event so people could see it. And then the other question that you can see there is, how do we know if Food Forward is already active in our community?
Great question. So we are active in Ventura and Los Angeles counties. We have volunteer events throughout those regions. You can go to our website to see where we're working. If you want to tell me where you are, I'm happy to share with you if we're working in that area. But generally, we're doing volunteer events in those counties the produce we're recovering is getting to all 8 counties in Southern California. So we have a pretty far reach. However, our community events are a little bit more localized to Ventura and Los Angeles counties.
Cool. And then the other question, which I realize you might be getting a lot of emails, but the email that we have on the PowerPoint is volunteer at. Do you get that, or do you want people to email you directly? What would be easiest for you?
I just put my email address in the chat as well, so please feel free to drop me a line.
Cool. Okay, thank you. I really appreciate it. By the way, we are at 99 participants. I really want to get to, we have 200 people who signed up. We're at 100. Hey, everybody. I'm proud of us. And this is just the first. Okay, thank you so much, Laura. I appreciate it. If you want to stay on, cool. If you got to go back to work, we understand. And I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you
okay,
so
so
much.
next up is John Brower from New Horizons. I think we're going to open up your video if we can. But if we do not, John, are you on the phone? Can we hear you?
I am. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay,
we can't see you, which is a bummer, but
okay. I can see you all.
I know. Well, I want you all to know. There you are. Hey, John. So we've got 5 minutes. I'm sorry for the short time. If you just really quickly want to talk about what New Horizons does, what's happening in the developmentally disabled world, and then like what it is that people can do, easy things that people can do to help you out.
Perfect.
There you go.
All right, no problem. So I'll jump in. So John Brower, I'm the CEO here for New Horizons. We serve 1,500 people with special needs each year, and that's everything from day program services. We have residential, we have community placements. We have about just under 400 people working in the community. And as you might guess, this has had a profound effect upon our agency. So as of last week, we no longer are serving folks in our day program. With this social distancing, we just try to find ways to keep people safe. And some of our other programs, we have programs where we go out to people's homes and provide day treatment and whatnot. Those have all stopped. The 3 programs that we maintain at this point, we have 12 group homes, so 6 clients in each group home. We have community living, so there's probably about 70-ish people living independently, but who need supports. And so we provide ongoing supports for those folks, and it's either it can be a very intensive support, or it can be a pretty light support just to check in every now and then. And we have a pretty robust employment services division. Of the 400 and some odd that are working in the community, about 170 of those folks are still working. They're considered essential jobs, so we're still providing coaching and providing backup supports, and in some cases alternate transportation so that they can get around. But as you might guess, with I'm sure most of the folks you're going to hear from today, this especially for folks with disabilities who often don't have great connections anyway, that's really vital that we stay in contact with them. And so we have a regularly scheduled meeting with them just to make sure that people are okay and they're taking their medications and they've got food to eat and all that good stuff.
Cool, thank you. Does anybody have any questions specifically for John that they want to ask? And I'll tell you what, I'll ask you a question. When this is all, John, when this is all said and done, and God willing, it's going to be soon and we can go back really fast, what can we do for you at that point?
Well, we just don't know, and I'm sure, again, this will be the story for many folks, but we just don't know how the funding is going to be managed through this process. So, I mean, obviously with 1,500 clients, most of them are not coming to campus anymore. So I tell you the kinds of things we could use right now. And originally, Matt, when you and your team were asking what could folks do, we were thinking about maybe a food drive where we could bring, canned foods and all that. But, we just don't want the exposure either for them or for us. So what we're thinking is one of the things that would be particularly helpful either now or down the road is our gift cards. Because our thought was, Target and Walmart and Costco and the things where what we find at Home Depot, for example. So we had, with 12 group homes and, all the folks in independent living, somebody had a plumbing issue. And so that would be a way of paying for folks to come in and you get somebody in to make sure that there's either food or cleaning products, or in some cases, in this case, plumbing products, because whatever it's going to take, we're going to make sure folks stay whole in that. So, we'd be open to, again, if folks are interested in, providing gift cards of any denomination. And the other thing is, you can imagine folks that are used to being out in the community every day, now we're kind of locked in. So we're thinking games would be great. Even if we had gift cards that were to restaurants where we could have food delivered in, so the staff who are now on 24/7 would have a break from some of that. That would also be great.
Okay, cool. So you can see the questions on the side. We will send that. We'll send some of these questions to all of the all of the executive directors on the call. Like, do you have an Amazon wish list? If there are games, where we can send them. And so what we'll do after this call, so games, Amazon wish list, all that good stuff. What we'll do is we'll have your address on there, John. And then do you want to type in your email address so people want to reach out to you directly, they can?
Absolutely.
Okay, so if you want to put it in the chat and you guys can email John directly. I love the idea of games. I think that's great. Thank you. I want to tell everybody. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, and I want to make sure that, I started off with a bang. I just want to make sure that I thank all those folks that have called in or have interest. It does my heart good to see so many people that are trying to figure out how to help during this pandemic. And we're just very grateful for you. So thank you.
Thank you, John. And so just so everybody knows, in terms of, again, of housekeeping, is that we've got 2 more nonprofits coming up, and then we're going to have 10 minutes for questions with the executive director, the four folks from each nonprofit, and then they'll be able to get off the call if they want. So just so you know, we're going to have time to ask them questions for 10 minutes. Okay. Thank you very much, John. We're going to put you back on mute. So our next nonprofit is Chrysalis, and Mark is the CEO, and he's going to be pulled up in a minute. So hopefully we'll see you in a minute, Mark, with your video and phone. And Chrysalis basically puts homeless people to work. They find them jobs and they put them into jobs. So I can see that you are unmuted and that your video's on, Mark. So
you guys hear me okay?
I don't see you, but I hear you. So we'll get you in a second. So if you've heard what I've said, you've heard my spiel. It's on you.
Great. All right. Well, thanks, Matt, and thanks everybody for joining. This is such a weird time, right, for all of us. We're having to figure out new ways to do everything, professionally, personally, in the community, and I really appreciate you guys creating this forum for us to talk about it, because I know I'm hearing from a lot of our supporters about, I just want to do something, but I don't know what I can do within the constraints. So I think conversations like this are great. So Chrysalis, what we do is help people get back to work. We work with folks that have been disconnected from work for a variety of reasons, either because they've got background issues or they've experienced homelessness or a whole host of other things, and help them get back on the path to self-sufficiency by finding and retaining work. And in normal times and up until a month ago, things were really busy for us. Last year, we placed over 2,500 people in employment, and over 70% of them were still working 6 months later. And we were on target to approach 3,000 jobs this year until about 3 weeks ago. Obviously, with the world being flipped on its head, we've had to completely flip our program on its head. We see over 400 clients a day at our 5 centers in LA and Orange County. And we quickly moved to a work from home model for most of our operations, which, sorry, I just touched my nose, not very good modeling. We'll sit on my hands. Anyway, we flipped to a virtual model where we are now supporting our clients through phone and text and email and video chat. And we've had nearly 1,000 connection points with clients over the last 10 days. So that work is actually being really effective. And while we are talking about employment, and I'll talk about those placements in a second, really what's most important, and I think this is probably some of what John was just talking about, is that personal connection between our staff and our clients. This is an uncertain time for everyone. Our clients are really vulnerable. They're not living in great conditions. And so just to have a safe place where they can have a conversation with somebody that we can say, hi, how you doing? Can I connect you to some additional resources in the community, has been really valuable. But that having been said, folks are still getting jobs. You've probably heard the reports that Amazon, Ralph's, Vons, Whole Foods, on and on. There are parts of our economy at the moment that are booming. At the same time, there's huge chunks of our economy that are not working. So our staff is quickly trying to reconnect clients that we have successfully placed in employment previously with some of the new folks that are hiring. And that's happening, and it's happening successfully. Another part of what we do is operate transitional jobs programs that put people to work in business improvement districts and in janitorial projects with shelters. And we also own or operate the personal property storage program for homeless folk throughout the city. Those projects are considered essential under the rule of law, but also morally and ethically to us. They're essential to the community. And so we've got 350 of our clients that are working for us in those businesses, supervised by professional staff. And you can imagine the challenges that that creates to make sure we're keeping them safe, to make sure that they have the support that they need and still are able to provide these really necessary services. So we are busier than ever. One, because our core program is busy staying in touch with clients, and two, because we have a $20 million business unit that is still operating, that is essential to the state of California, and we need to figure out how to do all that. In the homeless services community, all of us in that space are terrified right now, to be honest. It was already bad. You all know that. It is really a huge risk right now with this crisis. The city of LA is responding by opening up emergency shelters. There are 8 that are open today. 5 more will be opened within the next 10 days. And there are up to 41 of them that will be open around the city of LA. And that's just the city of LA. I know that every other municipality is looking at this as well. There's obvious questions around who's going to staff those. So the mayor's been in contact with us about helping to take some of our folks and employ them in these services with and all the rest of it. So all of this is going on. We're trying to modify our program as rapidly as we can to adjust to it. When I think about where community members can help us, there's a few things that come to mind. We are very heavily reliant on volunteers at the front end of our program, where we are doing classes with our clients, we're doing resumes, and we're doing practice interviews. Much of that work traditionally has been done in our offices by volunteers. So we are at the moment trying to figure out how we're going to do that. We've got an existing volunteer pool that is anxious to jump in. We're not sure that all of them will either be able to help us with that or be able to continue those services. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, I'd encourage you to check out our website, changelives.org, as it is on the chart there. There's a volunteer tab, and if you're interested, you can express your interest there, and we'll circle back to you once we have a better sense of it. I also love John's idea about the gift cards. We are trying to provide supports to our clients in any way possible. We can't give out $1,200 checks like I guess the federal government is going to do, but we can hand out a $20 Ralph's gift card for folks that need to get a bag of food. And so that's another area that could be really useful. I think the bigger message that I have to keep reminding myself about, and that I talk to my friends about, is let's just be kind to each other and kind to our community. I get frustrated when I'm in line at Ralph's and I got to wait for 15 minutes to get in. I just got to get in to get one thing, come on, and I just got to get out of my head. And if I'm doing that and I'm privileged, just imagine what the rest of our community is dealing with. So this is going to be a super high stress time for everybody in our country. And I think just taking time for wellness, taking time to connect, like doing stuff like this, is really helpful, because we gotta stay calm, because this could get out of control really quickly. And unfortunately, it's not going to end anytime soon. So we got to find ways to take care of ourselves and take care of our neighbors.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. There's a question on here. So as I said, right after this, we have the why coming on right after you, Mark, and then we're going to have 10 minutes of questions. And so one of the questions that was asked, which I think is a really great question, is what can high schoolers do? So when Heather's done from the why, we'll come back. And if you can stay on, and John and Laura, if you're still on there, maybe you guys can figure out what high school students can do from home. I think that's a great question. And my last question for you, Mark, is that on the PowerPoint, which you can see in front of you, the email that we have is Nancy Is that where people should email?
I will let Nancy know that she may get some emails. Yeah, she's our manager of outreach, and she can kind of be the traffic cop to make sure that Q&As are flowing in the right direction.
Great. Thank you very much, Mark. Stay on the
Yep.
phone. And then, okay, so next up is Heather from the YWCA of Glendale. Heather, you are now mic'd and videos on. So we should see you in a minute. And if you wouldn't mind just really quickly, like I said, you've got 5 minutes. What the Y does, what's happening in the DV world, and what people can do for you.
Thank you so much, Matt and Allison and Rosie and everybody who's presented on their organization so far. This is a really critical time for us to come together and support each other in any way that we can. And so we're grateful for the opportunity to share a little bit about the YWCA Glendale, what's happening with survivors of domestic violence right now, and how you could support our organization. You know, we know that for many children and adults, going to work and school is often a reprieve from violence at home. It's where most people are able to reach out to others for help and to disclose what's going on in their home. So it's a particularly challenging time for domestic violence survivors because they're not engaging and interacting with their network of support and potential networks of support. So we've definitely seen a lot of challenges with survivors, those who are able to call our hotline. It's a pretty dire situation for them, being at home with the person who's causing harm. We know that police are still responding to domestic violence calls, and survivors, that's kind of the driver of what we're seeing is kind of the law enforcement engaged calls versus people calling on their own or making the decision to leave. Right now, survivors are really faced with a challenging moment in not having those opportunities as they've had before with a different schedule to reach out for support. Many people are having to decide, do I risk going to a urgent care or ER to check on my injuries if I've been harmed because I'll be exposed to what's going on right now with the coronavirus. So there's a myriad of challenges. So the YWCA Glendale operates now this year. We recently expanded the number of beds in our shelter. So we're up to 16 beds in our emergency shelter, as well as operating a community resource center. So throughout the year, we see hundreds of survivors, adults and children, who come in for a full range of services, everything from case management, creating a safety plan, getting connected to social services, emergency financial services, legal support, as well as therapy for adults and children, and trauma-informed activities and play for children. And so we've had to shift all of our community drop-in and community support groups to online phone and video supports. Right now, we are seeing a drop in those because obviously some people who are living at home still with the person who's harming them are not able to participate right now. So we're trying to work through different strategies really on a case-by-case basis to provide support how we can and where we can. Our shelter is operating at capacity. I think you're going to see domestic violence shelter stays go on for a lot longer. You know, emergency shelters are typically around a 30 to 45 day stay. So I think you'll see many extensions across the state with that to keep people housed in place, and you know, working very closely and creatively with motels and hotels on a voucher system to get anybody who's calling and seeking shelter housed. So as an essential service provider, our shelter will remain open. Our 24-hour hotline will remain open. There are a lot of different things happening that's making it very confusing for survivors to know where to go and what to do. Everything from how do I get a restraining order if my court is closed right now? How do I do supervised visitations if my visitation center is closed? All of these, we're seeing it's very different city by city. county by county. And so the domestic violence hotline is a great place to call and get some clarification on what to do. Some survivors, typically do custody visitation exchanges in the lobby of police departments. Those lobbies are not open in some cities. So, we're here and available 24/7 to answer those questions and provide some clarity and linkages to supports. So, I would say there's several ways to help us. So if you want to reach out to info@glendaleywca.org and put Envision Volunteer in the subject line, we would love for your support. You could shop and share our Amazon wish list. This is very specific to our shelter clients' needs. We're trying to reduce the amount of time that folks are in communal spaces together. It's particularly in the kitchen. If you could help us with disposable items, over-the-counter medications, humidifiers, diapers is huge. We have a food pantry. We're going to be organizing curbside pickups for families in our community. So if you have items that you're able, would love to connect with Food Forward on that. If you're in the Glendale area, that you can drop off. Our facility staff is also available in the Glendale area to pick up food items from you if you would like to donate those, and just leave them out on your corner, and we'll set a time and come get those. We would like you to be our Google alerts for us right now. If you have some time on your hands and you want to compile a list of all the articles right now on COVID-19 and its impact on domestic violence, and pull out a quote that's very meaningful, impactful, that we can then put on social media. We're going to be creating an archive of all these articles on our website. We'd love for people to help us out with that. We do a Stand Against Racism campaign each year at the end, last week of April. That whole campaign of community events and actions focused around civic engagement is now moving entirely online. If you'd like to join us for some planning phone calls for that, and help us brainstorm about new and different ways that we can continue to engage the community in a meaningful way around this conversation around lifting up anti-racist work and empowering women. We would love for you to join us for that. If you have graphic design skills, we're about to launch a donor circle that's been in the works for 6 months, and we have some ideas. We like to work with a graphic designer on creating a logo. We provide you with a brand book and guidelines and a phone consult on that. And lastly, we're doing phone banking to all of our community supporters right now. We have so many elders in Glendale that support the work that we do and have been involved with us for decades. And we want to start phone banking every week and just calling them, not soliciting funds. We just want to call and say, how are you doing? And we're thinking about you. We know that our elders are, perhaps most acutely impacted by this social isolation right now. And we just want people to know that, they're part of our community, and we appreciate them. And, we want to be that quick 5-minute check-in call once a week just to say, you're important to us and we appreciate you. So definitely those are things we'd love your support on. If you want to compile like statistics on domestic violence for us and intersecting issues, all of these different ways that we could do these little pieces from home, that would be awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are some really phenomenal ideas. I really appreciate that. And also, just so everybody knows, our next nonprofit is going to be Haven Hills, which is a domestic violence shelter in the Valley. So we wanted to have you both on around the same time because you're in Glendale, they're in like Way Valley, so that folks who are in different parts of LA can give back to the different organizations. So thank you so much, Heather. I appreciate it. I wanted to just go back to that one last question, and then we're going to move on to Haven Hills. So the question was, which I thought was a really great question, is high schoolers. High schoolers, what can they do? There are a ton of them who are sitting around, and I think parents are losing their minds trying to figure out what to do with their kids. So let's give our kids something to do. So I want to start, I'm just going to go in order. So with Laura with Food Forward, Suzanne, if you wouldn't mind taking her off. What can high school students, elementary students, whatever it is, to not have their parents lose their mind, what can they do to help you guys out?
Great question. I think that's challenging for me to answer right now because we have suspended many of our community volunteer events, which is where we engage tons and tons of high school students regularly. I would encourage you to, I know this, I've said this, but like sign up for our newsletter, because we are trying to pilot some new opportunities where you could potentially harvest fruit on your own or with a family member, and hopefully offer some virtual trainings for that. I can't promise I know when that will be happening exactly, but I would just encourage you to check our website and sign up for our newsletter, and we can keep you updated as we roll out those opportunities.
Cool. Thank you. John? We got I think you're unmuted there.
Yep, I'm here. There we go. You know, like Laura, that it's a little bit of a challenge because we've put our volunteer services on hold as well. But here's what I'd like to do. I will put in the group chat our website address. And as we think of things, because frankly, I'm sure there's some things we can do, even if it's playing games remotely, you know, with some of our clients, as you know, from their house to their, you know, I love that idea. And again, it's the human connection. So let me chew on it a bit, and I'll put some ideas up on our website.
Cool. You know what I think is really helpful, and again, as I said at the beginning of the call, because we're doing this and because everybody sees my face, it forced me to get out of bed. It forced me to get dressed. It forced me to put on cologne, and not start the day with champagne. So the point is that I think this Zoom, doing something on Zoom, especially if you're working and you have like a daily call or you're with your family, doing something on Zoom, like doing a game on Zoom, kind of like what you were talking about, John, I think is really helpful. It gets us all to be able to see everybody. And I think it's, especially now when we're at home, doing something like this where people can actually see each other is really cool. So I definitely think that would be a really great idea. And if some of you are part of like a team for work, honestly, having a day call every morning where you are on a Zoom call, we do that here at Envision. We have a daily call and we're doing it on Zoom. I think it's really important. Okay, Mark, what do you got?
Well, first I can see your cologne. It's just right off you. So
I may have sprayed too much on today, but whatever, it's okay.
That's okay. So the high school thing is really interesting because traditionally we have a policy that you have to be a bit older to volunteer in our office for a variety of different reasons, given the backgrounds of some of our clients. However, this presents some different kind of opportunities if we're doing work virtually, specifically things like practice interviews and resume work, which I think high schoolers could actually do really well. Particularly the resumes are probably better word processors than most of us. So if you have somebody in your family that you think might be interested in that, if you could go to our website, changelives.org, and follow the volunteer link, put in a request. I'll make sure my team knows that we might get some of those asks, and we'd be happy to circle back to you with what possibilities might be.
Cool, thank you. And Heather, really quickly, what can high school students do for the Y?
So there's a lot that high school students can do for the Y. So we actually run a summer camp called Camp Rosie for young girls. It's part of our biggest violence prevention programming at the Y. So we're used to engaging volunteers in that age group. I think right now, any kind of online research that I mentioned before, joining the Stand Against Racism campaign, really, we want to pick their brains about, what can we do to make this work online? And I know a lot of teens have really great social media strategies and ideas, because I'm learning all of these from my son who's 13, who's home right now. So just different fun and relevant ways that we can be engaging folks right now. And, looking at, researching, what's going on with domestic violence and coronavirus and how people are responding is a great research project for teens right now. How to list and cite sources right now is really great to put together an archive of information. But, we definitely also want to be connecting with teens and getting their thoughts as this evolves. We may be looking at a different way of implementing our summer programming for teens, and we want to hear from them and have their voices be a part of what can we do if we have to shift to a different model that's not going to be in person over the summer, and what do they need from us? So really being part of, some type of online focus groups, I think could be really cool for teens right now.
Cool. Well, thank you. And again, we're going to put all this up at the end of this call. We're going to send out notes to everybody of those kinds of ideas. And also everybody has everybody's emails. So, you know, if there are things that you are interested in or want to talk to each nonprofit about, feel free to email them. And they're, you know, we're all busy, but I think this is they'll get back to you as soon as they can. Okay. Thank you guys. You are free to stay on as long as you want. I know you have very busy jobs right now, so I really appreciate this. And I'm going to now move on to Ileana at Haven Hills.
Hi.
Hi. So there you are. Good morning or afternoon.
Hi. Good morning. Good afternoon.
Yeah.
Yes.
So folks have heard from Heather at the Y. As I was saying earlier, you guys are in the North Valley. Y is in Glendale, so I just want to give everybody different options for where we are in LA. But if you could really quickly talk a little bit about your needs specifically at Haven Hills, what people can do for you guys, we'll take it from there.
Yeah. Thank you so much, first of all, Matt, and everybody in Envision for inviting me to be part of this today. It got me to do my hair this morning and get out in pajamas, so I really appreciate that. We're actually in the West Valley. We are one of only 2 domestic violence organizations in the proper San Fernando Valley, if you can believe that. It amounts to about 25% of the population of the city of Los Angeles and about 30% of its landmass, and there are only 2 of us working in this area. I always like to start with that. We are actually one of the largest and oldest domestic violence organizations in the county of Los Angeles and provide crisis and transitional shelter for survivors who are actively fleeing domestic violence situations. Crisis is up to 45 days of emergency housing. Transitional is up to 18 months of free housing and wraparound services to allow survivors to transition out of abusive relationships and build lives of independence. We also run a very robust outreach program that provides support groups, individual counseling, and wraparound services to survivors. I like to call it our outpatient services. And then we also are one of only 3 DART shelters in the city of Los Angeles, and DART is domestic abuse response teams that are run through LAPD, and those are special units that go out to domestic violence calls and support survivors who are wanting to flee the situation. So we're one of the shelters and then steps in and provides accommodations for survivors who are fleeing. Those programs can never close. We can never not be available to survivors who are seeking our assistance. So we are working around the clock to provide all of those services, continue to provide all those services, and really limit the exposure to our staff and the community of any potential spread of COVID-19. Which means that much as Heather explained at the Y, we are moving a lot of our programs to conference and teleconferencing, video conferencing platforms to ensure that survivors continue to have support groups, continue to have individual counseling, check-ins, and most importantly, that survivors throughout our region have someone, an advocate waiting to provide services such as safety planning. I can't imagine what it must feel like for a survivor to be trapped in their home right now with their abuser. It must be horrendous for them. And so we want to be available to them as much as possible to make sure that they are getting the services that they need and have the safety that they should be entitled to. No one should live a life of violence. Everybody should feel free to be safe. And so we are working around the clock to make sure that happens. So my staff, I've instructed them to go out and serve. That has been the directive. Get on those phones, check in with your clients daily if need be, and make sure that they are safe. And then we're continuing to bring in clients to our shelters. As much as we possibly safely can do, we're continuing to do that. As a DART shelter, We are continuing to place survivors in other housing throughout the city of Los Angeles, and I can't really go into detail on that, but there are beds available that we have access to that we will continue to place survivors in as to help them as they are fleeing. And that, in a nutshell, is what we are tasked to do over the course of the next month, possibly two. Yeah. So ways that you can help us. You know, I'm going to echo everything that everybody else said. We need cash. We need money. That's the number one thing that people can do. Gift cards are especially needed now, as a lot of our clients are food insecure at the moment. You know, we run a transitional shelter. A part of that, the work that we do there is helping survivors with job training and placement. A lot of them have lost their jobs because a lot of businesses have closed down. And so people who had worked hard to get employment and stabilize their families are now having to ask for help to just feed them. And that's really hard at the moment to have to deal with. And so gift cards are a great way for us to be able to provide the necessary food that our clients need. We also are going through our own emergency rations right now. So we keep about 2 to 3 weeks of food on site for our clients in case of an emergency. And so we're going through those. So right now we need non-perishable food items. So if you're you know, wanting to donate that, you can call our hotline at 818. Sorry, I never call the hotline, so you're just going to have to give me a minute to figure that. It's 818-887-6589. They will direct you on what times we actually take donations for that. And then finally, one way that that you can help us is by helping us spread the word about the work that we do and are continuing to do through this pandemic. All of our handles are at Haven Hills. So like us, friend us, share our stories with your family and friends so that people know that we're available and that our hotline will continue to be operational throughout this pandemic. And again, our hotline is 818-887-6589. So if you know someone that is going through a situation currently and needs assistance and needs help to be safe, please let them know that we're there to help.
Thank you, Leona.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is a really terrible time for folks who are stuck in their house. So thank you. Okay, I'm gonna change up the order just a little bit because our next participant I don't see on the phone right now. So actually, Lisa, you had no idea you were next, but I'm putting you next. So Lisa is the executive director at the Boys and Girls Club here in Pasadena. I want to make sure that you are unmuted, which you are, and we can see you now. So I will give you 5 minutes. We're sort of running behind a little bit, so I'm gonna have to start keeping more attention to the 5-minute rule. So hopefully everybody knows what the Boys and Girls Club do. But if you want to just talk a little bit about what we can do for you and for the Boys and Girls Club.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, and the slide you just had up was for my fellow Boys and Girls Club down the road in Monrovia. They are the Foothills, so love them. You can help them too. But I can share with you what we have going. And I also was triggered thinking about some of the talk about teens. So we have policies against doing anything one-on-one with kids or being in contact with kids outside of the setting. Outside of the setting of the club. So, you know, when I think about referring our teens over to do things, it's a little challenging because we background check anybody who's going to be spending time with our kids and that kind of thing. So anyway, that all said, we are working remotely. Our club is closed. Our 2 clubhouses are closed. We've got about 400 kids that we normally see in an afternoon, about 2,000 in the course of a year. And right now we've created virtual BGCP online. And I would say one need I would have is that if there's anybody out there that's just really creative that wants to help us build out opportunities for kids online, be it just things that they can click on and do, or if it's things that you can do via video. We can't have one-on-ones or groups with somebody that we haven't background checked with our kids, but we can, if you can help us develop any of that kind of content, we would love that. And so it's really just, something's happening.
No, you're there. I just posted something.
Yeah, and so that's a need at the moment. I mean, obviously, like everyone else, we're going to be about 17% down in our revenue this month and about 48% down next month, and that will continue for the foreseeable future. Until we're able to get back up and running and get renters in our building again, get kids in the building. So donations, of course, would always be welcome. We're also reaching out to our most needy families right now to see what they need. And so currently we're able to connect them with other resources in town, and that's been very important. So I'd say that's my synopsis, Matt, and if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Cool. So we'll get to thank you, and thank you for letting me kind of change you around. I'm sorry about the
Right.
PowerPoint. So we put your website on the right, and then if you wouldn't mind typing in the email that people can email you for, then we'll have that. And then at the question period, folks can ask questions, and then at the end, like I said, we'll send all this out. So I'm sorry about the confusion on the PowerPoint. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, Matt, you're going to be next. I think I see you. So we're going to unmute you and put your camera on. There you are. Hi. And then Rosie is just going to put back the PowerPoint as soon as she can do that, so that we can get the PowerPoint up there and have your information up there. So you've got 5 minutes. What United Friends does really quickly, and then what we can do as volunteers to help you.
Got it. Hi, everyone. My name is Matt Streaker. I'm the Executive Director for United Friends of the Children. United Friends of the Children serves foster youth, current and former foster youth. We have 2 programs. We have an education program and we have a housing program. The housing program has 107 beds for young people who are 18 to 24, and they're all former foster youth. So we provide them what's called transitional housing. They can stay with us for up to 3 years. And the goal of that program is to have them transition to permanent housing and to be relatively self-sufficient when they leave. The education program, the primary purpose of that program is to get youth to graduate from high school and to college. Foster youth have terrible graduation rates. It's something around 50% from high school and less than 10% from college. So we have a program that works with kids starting in 6th grade, and they can stay with us all the way through college graduation. And we have about 90% graduation rates for our foster youth who finish our program in high school. So in terms of how we've been affected by COVID-19, I would say 2 things primarily. Our education program is probably more needed now, not probably is more needed now than ever. My 11-year-old is sitting in the other room right now on her computer doing remote school, and I am in there every other hour to make sure that she's not watching TV or texting someone and is actually learning the math that she should be on Khan Academy. Most of my foster youth don't have that. They don't have the computer, and they don't have a support system to make sure that they are staying on track for school this year, and I think are at even greater risk of falling behind where they should be at the end of the grade they're completing if they're going to be out of school the rest of the school year, as we're all suspecting. On the housing side, there is a huge effort in the county of Los Angeles to make sure we get everyone sheltered right now to protect them from COVID-19. We are still intaking people right now into our housing program because it's important to make sure we get as many people sheltered as possible right now. So that work is, also I think really important just in terms of addressing the pandemic. So that's in terms of how our services have been impacted. Everything has gone virtual, as has for everyone else. Our entire model is based on relationships. The reason why we think our kids do well is because they build lasting relationships with our staff. Obviously, it's disruptive if you can't meet with them one-on-one. So we are now meeting with them virtually. A lot of what we do happens in a community setting. It's not just the relationship they build with us, it's the relationship they build with each other. We're just figuring out how to provide those spaces virtually for the youth. And then the housing, but on that education side, we really are able to be virtual and encourage everyone to, self-isolate and social distance. On the housing side, it's harder to do that. There are essential duties that we have to do. Like I said, we have to intake people. We have to move them into the new unit. We have to have people on site to make sure that everything goes okay. If there are any emergencies, there needs to be someone there. So we do have staff who are still in contact with youth. We try to limit it as much as possible for everyone's health. But when you're running a housing program, for young people, it's really, it's hard to do that virtually across 11 different sites. In terms of the needs that we have right now, I think everyone is experiencing both the consequences of the fear of losing your job and actually losing your job. Yes, there's been a big spike in people requesting food cards or grocery gift cards. So we have that need, and I think everyone is seeing that there. And one thing that I found really helpful, there's actually a lot of great resources out there. So there are food banks, there's the LAUSD Grab and Go. So you don't necessarily have to plug in with my agency. Certainly we'd appreciate additional food cards, but there are other places that are trying to meet that need for food insecurity right now, and connecting with them I think would be helpful, because we're sending our people there when we don't have the resources. And the other thing is technology that we're really need right now. We need, we're buying phones, we're buying computers, we're buying Chromebooks, we're buying iPads. We're going to peer agencies. If some people have said to me already that they have an extra computer, can they give it to us? We'll take it and give it to one of our youth. But we're also directing people to iFoster, which is an agency that provides those for our agencies. We needed 60 computers and we requested it from this other nonprofit, and they were able to provide it to us. So connecting with iFoster, if that kind of technology is helpful, it's another place that you can go. Hotspots, like things that having internet connectivity, flip phones. We bought flip phones for all of our youth in the housing program. So those technology needs are only gonna, I think, evolve. And I will also just say, staying in touch. It's great that there's an immediate response that's happening, but I think the thing that many of us are trying to navigate is we don't know what this is gonna look like in a week or two. I used the example of, I think it was Monday, March 9th, where I emailed a trusted colleague of mine, and I said, are we going remote at the end of the week? And are we worried about losing money? And are we worried about workforce reduction? She said, no, not yet. I was like, agreed. And in 24 hours from that time, we were all planning for reduced workforce. We were planning on going remote. We were planning on potentially having to provide less services and losing a lot of money. So the situation just remains very dynamic. And I think last week was very disruptive when we went remote. This week we're trying to stabilize a little bit, but it really depends on what turn this epidemic takes in terms of what our needs will be. And if where we are right now really is the tip of the iceberg, if really half of Californians are going to get this, our needs are probably going to grow and become more significant. And I just encourage everyone to stay in touch with agencies that draw on your passion, because none of us can say what our needs are going to necessarily be 3 weeks from now.
Thank you for that. By the way, you made it difficult for us to find you because your screen name is Dee. So
that's my dog.
Made it complicated for us. I have a question for you. So one of the things that you said, and I think that's really interesting, is that all of us can sort of stay in touch. And are you doing social media? Are people sending out, are you sending out different texts or tweets?
Yeah,
or whatever?
so I've gotten, that's personally where I've spent a lot of time, is I'm doing, thinking through what our communications plan is going to be through this. And we're working with a firm that actually has what they call a social press kit. And what it allows, it's a common set of social posts that our advocates and volunteers and board members can send out. So as we are posting, on our social media, all the people who love us can post, an on-brand set of communications to their networks as well. So that is one thing we're implementing this week, to just stay in touch.
Cool. So I think what we'll do also after the call, we'll do when we send out the notes for everybody, we will also send out the social media information of each of our nonprofits on the call today. And that's actually a very easy thing for everybody on the call, for all of our volunteers out there to do, is start following all of us, start following all of our nonprofits on social media. It's a great, easy way to do this. But thank you, Matt. Okay, stay on, because we're going to get to questions in a minute. So Mara from Ronald McDonald House. We're gonna unmute you and unvideo you. I don't see you yet.
Hi.
There you are. Hi.
Can you see? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, and I think I could see you too. I think. Yeah.
Can you? Okay.
So if you would share, you've heard my spiel. You got 5 minutes. What's happening in your world, and what it is that people can do for the Ronald McDonald House? Are you there? Did I lose you? Uh-oh. Did we just lose you? Okay. One more time. You want to just, there you are. I can hear you now.
There we go.
Okay.
Sorry, I dropped out for a second, but I'm back in now. Hi,
Great.
everyone. I'm Mara. I'm from the Pasadena Ronald McDonald House. We're a home away from home for families with critically ill children who are receiving life-changing medical treatment at local hospitals. So we are still open. We've adjusted our programs and services according to the new health regulations, but we are still open and serving families. And things are a little bit different for us. So we've halted all in-person volunteer activities, as I think all of the other organizations have as well. What we really rely on usually is what we call meals of love. So we always have volunteer groups that come in every week to cook and prepare meals for our families. So that's one of the biggest gaps that our families are really facing at this point, is that they're used to being able to come back to the house after being at the hospital with their child all day and receive a fresh home-cooked meal by our wonderful volunteers. So luckily we have kind of thought of different ways that people can engage from home. So we've been asking volunteers to schedule meal deliveries. So people have been sponsoring meals. They order from a local restaurant, which is a great way to also support some of the local restaurants that are struggling, and send dinner over, just like we've all been ordering takeout at home as well. So we also have a way to contribute to our meal fund, so that if someone doesn't want to sponsor the entire meal, they can contribute a part to maybe feed a family or two families for dinner, and then we can combine that all together and order food for everybody. That way it can be kind of individually packaged, and everyone can eat it on their own without being so communal. So that's one way that we're really hoping to get more volunteers to be able to help us out from home, and people have really been excited about it. In addition, we also had an annual fundraising event that was scheduled for April 5th. It was our annual Walk for Kids. It's absolutely still happening, but now it is a virtual event. And of course, we're looking for engagement. So we are absolutely in need of virtual walkers. So people can sign up, create their own walk team page, get their friends involved, do some fundraising. And it's kind of a great way to share some goodwill and feelings at a time when we're all kind of struggling for how we can help and how we can give back. So, please join our Walk for Kids. And this is actually a great way to get teenagers involved too. Some of our best teams are actually led by teenagers or elementary school kids that feel really passionately about the Ronald McDonald House, and get their friends involved as well. And even if fundraising seems hard right now, we're really looking for engagement. So posting about our Walk for Kids online on social media, #WalkForKids, and tagging Pasadena RMH. We can send that out, of course, is a great way to kind of share awareness. So, we of course need donations like everybody, but we also are still, looking for people to engage with us and know where we are and know what we're about. So we appreciate that help as well. And of course, we still have supply needs. So we do have an Amazon wish list that I can share the link of as well. So, kind of keeping that up to date with what we need at the house, because, now everybody who lives at our house regularly while their child's receiving medical care, they're now kind of doing the stay-at-home order. So everybody is home all the time. People are relying on us for all of their needs now, as opposed to they used to have a little bit more freedom to go out and go to the grocery store on their own. But now we're trying to provide everything that families might need on a daily basis at our house. So Amazon wish list items, as well as grocery gift cards, are a big need for our families too.
Cool, thank you. And actually that's really cool. I love that you're doing the virtual walkathon. In my neighborhood, I have seen everybody walking around the block. I mean, really, literally everybody. Although it's funny because we're all sort of walking in the middle of the street because nobody wants to get close to anybody. And I just don't know how to navigate that. But yeah, so that's really cool. And that's something easily that high school students can do. And I love that. So thank you. Stay on the line. We got Mary. We found you. So you're up, Mary, from Young and Healthy. Again, we've got 5 minutes. And then so once you have 5 minutes, then I am running late, but I'm still going to give us 5 minutes for people to ask questions. So if you guys want to start teeing up your questions now on the chat for Haven Hills, Young and Healthy, United Friends, Boys and Girls Club, and Ronald McDonald, I'd appreciate that. And Mary, you're up.
Hi there, everybody. So Young and Healthy is a program in Pasadena. We serve 4 cities, Pasadena, Altadena, Sierra Madre, South Pass. And we provide access to health care to low-income kids who otherwise wouldn't be able to go to the doctor. We are considered an essential service by the Public Health Department because we are directly linking kids with health care. We have 350 volunteer doctors, medical, dental, mental health folks who see kids at no cost when they get a referral from us. Now, that said, it's a little more challenging, of course. We have gone to a virtual platform as well. Our office is locked up, but we are working. Some of the things that make it particularly challenging right now is that every recommendation from the CDC down to our public health officer to your neighbor says, if you're sick, call your doctor. Great. Our families don't have doctors. And so we're it. And when we are now discovering, for instance, that the American Dental Association has recommended the closure of all dental offices for the country. So that wiped out 45 volunteer dentists for us yesterday. And that's a real challenge when you have a kid with a toothache. We were able to get one doctor who would go in if one of our staff would go with them because they didn't want to be alone in the office with the kid, which makes total sense. But it's really challenging because they're completely inundated or closing their own offices. So our staff is virtually doing lots of case management, checking up on our families, and we're still encouraging people to call us and leave their name on our voicemail. And then we have staff all at home, but deployed, checking the answering machine every hour to see if there's anybody that needs our help. And then we will do the best we can to jerry-rig some kind of referral for them. We are still doing insurance enrollments over the phone, which is helping people get Medi-Cal or any of the covered California products. And, you know, if you lose your job, that is an event that changes your ability to get insurance. And so you can call us. Now, it is hard to do over the phone, but we're giving it a shot. We're trying to get that done too. So again, you could call us. One of the other things that we're really working on is creating some online meditations for kids and online mindfulness projects for kids. We have that's a big part of our daily work, and that'll be on our website soon as those get developed. We're sending out helpful hints to teachers and resources to teachers that we work with all the time in the Pasadena Unified School District. And some of the things that we really are trying to do is do the outreach through the food distribution sites. So the school district that we work with, Pasadena, like every school district, is finding ways to get kids fed. So yesterday we went to all those food distribution places to just give them our outreach material saying, we're open, call us. In the coming weeks, because we know this is going to last a while, we are creating some little goodie bags to go with the outreach material. So right now we're looking for toothbrushes, little toothpastes. We put little coloring things together, all kinds of little goodies, so that when they get a little flyer from us that says, hey, we're open, call us if you need us, they're also getting some hygiene projects to take home. We're inventing ourselves every day, trying to reinvent ourselves every day. But the things that we really do need help with right now are toothbrushes and toothpaste. And we have just learned that now Amazon is sold out of them. Um, maybe it's all of our volunteers who bought them. I hope so. But people could buy toothbrushes, and we will figure out a way that there'll be a drop-off at our office. Even though we're closed, we will designate some times that people could do that. We'll collect them, and then we'll redistribute them out through our source through the school district's food lines. We too could use Amazon gift cards just for anything that is available that we can buy on Amazon. Again, you can call or email us. Both of our info is right there on the website, so that on the PowerPoint. And we're checking it hourly to see who needs help out there. And if we are working on some things for kids to do, and we might have enough kids right now to do this, but we're still consider if other kids want to help us. Things like decorating the bags that these toothbrushes are going in, sending little loving notes to other people, other families that we will put in our goodie bags. We don't have all the toothbrushes we need yet. I probably have enough for about 200 right now. So we're gathering them, and if you can help us with that, that would be swell.
Cool. Thank you so much. So I saw there was a question about Wi-Fi, which we can write back to on the chat. And just really quickly, because I'm running, it's 3:45, and that's, sorry, 3:45. It's 12:45, and so Aviva's at next, but just really quickly, Lisa, Mara, although you've actually already given really great ideas, Matt, do you guys want to share anything specific that parents could have their kids do for your organization during this time? So Lisa, maybe I'll start with you. Anything that parents could have their kids do for you? I think we have to unmute you though.
No, it's really for us to stay plugged in. We're trying to develop things really for them every day. So no, I don't really have a great answer for that. I'm sorry.
That's fine. If you think of something, again, we're going to send out emails at the end of this with all that information. And again, people are going to have all of your socials. So I'm trying to stay cool by saying socials. And so, you know, if at the end, if you guys put stuff on there, people can see. Okay, Matt, anything specific that you want folks to have their kids do for you?
I'd be curious to know what their kids are doing to stay busy. You know, we are, I mean, as everyone has described, we're all navigating, we don't have really a lot of bandwidth. We're having to be creative on really basic service provision. So I would love ideas in terms of how you are engaging, how your kids are staying engaged with school, or how your kids are staying engaged with their peers, so that we can pass that on to our kids, you know, and I'm, you know, kids are super resourceful. So I think that would be something that would be helpful.
You know what, actually, that's a really cool thing. And maybe, okay, like I said, we're going to do this weekly. And maybe what we'll do for our next one is spend like 10 minutes at the beginning of the call or 15 minutes at the beginning of the call to brainstorm about, hey, what can parents have their kids do during this thing that isn't necessarily, because I don't understand new math, so I don't understand how parents are teaching their kids anything to do with even fractions. I think I was asleep after our second grade in math. But I think that's a really great idea. So let's do that for our next call. Thank you. I'm going to move on to Aviva. So Regina is the CEO of Aviva, which I think we're going to move. There it is, Aviva Children and Families. And we're going to unmute you. I think you're unmuted actually now. So if you wanted to put your camera on, go for it. Otherwise, maybe just you see, I don't see you, but as long as you guys hear. So what Aviva does in like 2 minutes, and then specifically what folks can do. And I actually think one of the big things is specifically what kids could also do for you.
Okay, great. Hopefully you can hear me, Matt. I can see myself, so I'm hoping everybody else can see me as well, because I spent a lot of time getting.
I can see you. I can see you now. I can see you wearing red, and I can hear you. So
okay,
we're cool.
Good. Okay, good. So Aviva Family and Children's Services has 4 main areas of service. We have preventative mental health services, crisis intervention mental health services. We have foster care, adoption, and kinship support. And we have Wallace House, which is homeless services for young women and their children. we've been around for a long time, started 1915, and have evolved to our current array of services. One of the big, easy things that anybody could do for us is to go on Amazon Smile, and when they're shopping on Amazon for themselves or for anyone, choose us as their charity. And although our name is Aviva Family and Children's Services, that's our DBA, and our legal name is the Hamburger Home, which made a lot of sense in the 1920s and 30s, but you know, as we heard from Ronald McDonald House, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense anymore. So that you just are buying your own stuff, and some very small percentage of your purchases comes to us. But every little bit helps, and the more people that do that, the bigger that adds up to be. My ask today is in regards to Wallace House. So we have 18 women between the ages of 18 and 24, and their children living in our residence. We really provide a safe home, and we provide food. And then we have had volunteers coming in and doing things like parent education classes, how to write resumes, how to shop on a budget, how to cook healthy meals, what is it that children need at different stages of development. And all of our volunteer activities have stopped. So it's kind of leaving us in a lurch, and I love the idea of sharing ideas about how to keep children engaged and active during this time without necessarily putting them in groups. So that'll be helpful to us. But some of the other things that we really need and had not planned for because of the COVID virus is we need paper plates, disposable utensils, baby wipes, diapers, disposable thermometers. We need teething gel, teethers, the kind that you put in the freezer, and then the kids can gnaw on and soothe their gums, baby snacks, and art supplies for toddlers. So there's many more things that we need and that we need ongoingly, but these are the things that this current crisis has caught us unprepared for. So any of those kinds of things. Let me see what else. Oh, baby and toddler bibs. None of these things would be things that we would necessarily ourselves be supplying for our women and their kids, but because they can't go out and they can't access other resources, we really need to kind of step up and do that for them.
Can I ask you a question really quickly? So if folks want to get that to you, how can they get that to you?
Okay, so if you do any shopping, again, this is why the Amazon Smile is so wonderful. If you were to shop and do any of that on Amazon Smile, you could just have it directly sent to us, and our address is 77. Okay, hold on. Let me remember my address.
We'll put that on the chat. It will go on the chat so everybody can see it.
Okay, good. I'll write that down. But yeah, that way it gets sent directly to us. We are considered, all of our programs are considered essential services. I mean, we have foster kids in foster homes, so we need to monitor them. Obviously, we have the women and their children living with us in our residence. And then our mental health services are critical, probably even more critical now than they were before because of the stress and strain that all of this is putting on everyone. So all of our services are open. I do not yet have data that lets me know whether this is going to hit Aviva's bottom line, but I assume that it will. There'll probably be more things we need in the future. But these things, again, paper plates, cups, utensils, diapers, baby wipes, formula, disposable thermometers, baby and toddler bibs, teethers, teething gel, things like that that can easily be ordered that aren't very expensive. That would be fantastic if you so we're so moved to send that to us. And then I'll put it on the chat, our address and telephone number. So our offices are open. We do have skeleton crews, but we're there, and you can call that number that's on the screen and reach us.
Thank you so much, Regina.
Matt?
Appreciate that. Okay, so we've got 2 more nonprofits, and then we'll have, I know we're going to be running late, so if you guys have to go off the call, cool. Otherwise, if you can stay on for probably 10 minutes longer, that would be great. Everybody keeps asking us a lot about animals and what to do with animals right now. And so we have Stray Cat Alliance on. Christy's on. You know, I've been working with Christy for like a year, and actually I've never met you in person, so I'm excited to see what you look like. So we're going to, you are now unmuted, and you are also on camera.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, because I'm having technical issues. So I have my laptop and this, but as long as you can hear me.
I can hear you. Are you wearing the earphones, by the way?
I usually do my laptop, but it's
somebody else. Okay.
You can. I can hear you.
You've got 5 minutes, Chris. Go for it.
Okay. So Stray Cat Alliance, we're based in Los Angeles, but we help shelters and communities nationally. We have programs in shelters with life-saving. We're part of No Kill 2025 for the nation. And what we need now is, of course, we've had an incredible amount of people step up to foster. We're trying to empty the shelters, empty some of the cat cafes we have so that we can do more life-saving in this time of crisis. And at first we were very nervous adoptions would stop and fostering would stop, but it has stepped up tenfold. But that is not to discourage anyone, that's to encourage more fostering. We definitely need volunteers to help process some of the people who are stepping up to foster and adopt. We are very present on social media, and we always need help with that. We have a professional, but she needs help. We need content, engagement. There's so many things. We have a skeleton crew at our shelter in South Los Angeles, and we're still working very closely we work with Los Angeles Animal Care Services, Long Beach Animal Care Services, Orange County Animal Care Services, and Garden Grove. So we're still working with the shelters. We're not stopping life-saving because of this crisis. And we need people to, adopt, help promote us on social media. The best email actually is volunteers@straycatalliance.org. So the word volunteers@straycatalliance.org. And if you are looking to foster, please contact us. And if you're looking to do admin to help process all the people, we need your help, and lots of other things. We're starting to set up peer-to-peer fundraising. We also have an Amazon wish list where you can buy cat food, and it directly goes to the cats.
Cool. Thank you. And I'm happy to finally meet you. Okay, cool. I will say yesterday there was like a virtual happy hour that I was part of. And somebody had just adopted a puppy, not a cat, but a puppy. And it was like this big, and it looked like not a gerbil. What's bigger than a gerbil? What's the next size up? Anybody?
A rat?
It looked just like a guinea. No, it looked like just like a guinea pig. It was so cute. So
adopt, don't shop.
I love it. Okay, cool. Thank you, Christy. And our last nonprofit for today's call, remember we're going to do this again next week, is Mark Watterson at the Convalescent Aid Society. A lot of folks want to know what to do with seniors, especially now. I like Mark. Are you right now at an amusement park? Is that where you are right now?
Yeah, I'm actually at the Santa Monica Pier. They shut it down, so I think if I'm in a social distance, I'm just going to hang out here.
Awesome. I love it. You need to shave your beard. Okay.
No, not going to happen.
Mark, you're up.
Thanks. Well, I wanted to say, if this was a music festival, Matt, I'd be like your Rolling Stones, coming in to close it out strong.
Yes.
So I appreciate you giving me the last spot.
Listen, we don't love you least because you're going on at the end.
I feel the love. No, I really do. I appreciate that. One of the things that first of all, it's been really interesting to hear other agencies talk about what they've been doing. And what's been kind of what I've heard throughout this is we've all just been really nimble and having to adapt on the fly, which is, I think, the sign of good agencies. In the absence of sort of what you call leadership on a larger governmental level, we've all kind of just had to make it up as we go. And it's been really cool to hear some of the things that other agencies have done. And we've done some of the same things as we've been trying to figure out how to continue to serve people in this time of crisis. Like we provide medical equipment for free, as you mentioned. And one of the things that we did is we moved to a reservation only system where we would load equipment into people's cars as opposed to having them come into our office. And we were ahead of the curve on that because that's what they ended up doing for restaurants and a lot of other businesses. So before that had kind of come down from above, we kind of figured that out on our own, and it's worked pretty well. It allows us to keep our staff safe and to keep social distance between us and the clients that we serve. So yeah, I don't have anything really huge to share. I did see in the chat that there was a question about our foundations releasing restricted grant funding to be used for general ops, and we just got notified by one of our funding sources that they are willing to do that with a grant that's coming. So I know you're mostly nonprofits that are on this call, but if the word can get out to foundations, that's a really nice way to be able to support people for cash flow reasons during this time of crisis. You know, I hope that people at foundations take that suggestion and run with it, because I think it could be a really big help.
There are actually some foundation folks on the call, so I think they've been hearing that.
Well, all right.
So I know you lend out what would you call, like, equipment, for medical equipment for folks who are convalescing at home. Can people bring you any? I mean, are you looking for donations of any of that, or anything like that?
Yeah, it's a good question. So our operation works where people use equipment, and then when they're done with it, they donate it to us, and we turn around and loan it back out for free after we sanitize it. So we still do need the equipment. And one of my concerns going forward is, as people are staying at home more, they're not going to be inclined to bring us donated items. So we definitely do need equipment still. And we're also trying to figure out a way to mobilize volunteers that can make phone calls to our current clients who may have equipment that don't need it anymore,
Cool.
as a way to kind of keep people involved.
Do you want to just give folks just really quickly some idea of what kind of equipment you're talking about?
Sure. We do everything from hospital beds to wheelchairs, commodes, walkers, things that are going to be used to help people stay at home during this time when they're being told to stay at home.
Cool. Okay. Thank you, Mark. But you really need to shave that facial hair off. Okay.
Not gonna happen.
So we've got, I'm going to stay on for like 10 minutes. Does anybody have any last questions in chat for any of our executive directors who are still on the call? If anybody wants to hear anything or have any questions, put that in chat now, please. Also, just know, again, we're going to be doing this next week. We're going to have another probably 15 nonprofits on the call. If you want to spread the message of this, really important for us is spreading the message. Like we can only reach so many people, but all of you can reach other people. So, if you want to share our socials on your socials, I guess that's what people do, or whatever else that you can do, spread the email that we send out. I think that would be really helpful for all of us. And once we send out the notes to everybody, if you want to forward the notes to your friends, to your networks, on your next door, wherever you can, I think that would be awesome.